Second of all, I do want to welcome everybody to the call. We really
Yes.
appreciate you being on. Like I said, friends and new friends are on this call. This will be expanding every week. And we just really appreciate the time and that you've taken to spend with us today. And our main objective is to hopefully, if there's any hurdles in where you're at literally today, hopefully we can help you get over that hurdle, answer any questions, or maybe think with some new thoughts to get over the hurdle, because we want to get you the next step, whatever that next step is right now. So at the end of this call, one of our main goals is that you have the next step and what you want to do to move forward in your real estate investing career. As a real estate entrepreneur, we are real estate entrepreneurs. That's where we started. That's where we are. And we just love the space and we love other real estate entrepreneurs. So we're just here to help anything we can to help you out. So, Jerod, let's just start with the importance of, or I guess what you think is the most important part of real estate.
I think the most important part of real estate is defining your goals, defining the reason why you want to be in the real estate world anyway. There's a lot of places to make a return on your investment, and I think understanding your big why around that, and that is kind of a buzzy catchword, that big why, right? But I think that's really important to understand your why around what you want to do, and then how you're going to get there, and how do we make tangible steps that you can literally start doing today and next week and the week after. So I think that is a very, very important piece that I think a lot of people miss, is just the goal setting and understanding what's important about their goals and the big why around that.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And, Jaime and I have spent some time together in another education platform. And Jaime, if you don't mind unmuting, I'd love to just get your why, like, because I know you have a strong why and you've thought about it. And you and I, about a year and a half ago, I asked you this very similar question, right? So kind of what's your why? Why are you a real estate entrepreneur?
Well, it starts from when I was growing up. I kind of grew up in a broken household. You know what I mean? Uh, always struggled with money, how to move from place to place, follow meat pack companies. Then I just had one parent really, and so I started kind of going off the wrong end, going nowhere fast. Went to the military, came back out of the military, retired after 16, 17 years. Um, when I came back out to the corporate world, it just wasn't the same. They didn't have the same beliefs, and how to grow with people around you that I had. And so I just kind of wanted to do something for my own, and I was always been good with my hands, so stepped into the real estate thing and been doing it ever since.
And then so what's the underlying, so you're in the real estate thing, obviously it's to make money, but I know there's a deeper, I know, a little bit more about your story. So what's the deeper, I mean, I know you got a couple girls, you got a son, you got a wife, you got, so why do you get up every morning and do this deal, right? Because it's hard too, right? I mean, real estate's a ton of fun. It's very challenging. I think it's super rewarding, but it's hard too. There's days where you're like,
Right.
man, should I have stuck with that 9 to 5? So for you, what's the deeper why you're a real estate entrepreneur?
Well, after being in the military 16, 17 years, at those 16, 17 years, I was probably away for maybe, I don't know, I would say about 8 of them. So I spent a lot of time away from my family, and I missed a lot of good things. So, working for myself and going into real estate, gives me a chance to one, put away from my kids, later on because I was working in the corporate world. Anything that I achieved, I could never pass to my kids. So that's one major reason why. Two, I get to work with my son every day. I get to work with my wife
Mm,
every day. You know what I mean? I never
mhm.
had that before in the military. Um, Much less have a household with two parents in there to, you know what I mean? Kind of uh, give our kids a pathway to go to. So when we're trying to leave something for them, we're trying to teach them the stuff that we believe in as well. And yeah, just having more time with the family and getting away from the struggles. I mean, I just remember when, they used to cut off the gas and or the electric on us, when I was younger. And man, it was rough. When it was cold outside, it was cold inside too.
Mhm. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you, Jaime. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your, part of your story. And
Yes, sir.
I look forward to other people in this group learning more about your story, and we want to learn more about their stories, right? This is, we want to build this real estate community because we want to support each other. That's what it's about, supporting each other, just like you're doing, supporting your family, and have these values of really leaving legacy and leaving something for your family that they can truly benefit from generations from now. We talk a lot about, the importance of real estate's really, for most of us, I think Jerod and I included, it's breaking those cycles of generational poverty and creating some generational wealth for our kids and their kids. And, or at least if they have something to sell to maybe go to college or to, start their own business or whatever it is, medical emergency, whatever the case may be, there's always a deeper why. So, Jerod, kind of how do we think about goal setting? Like, kind of what do you do at the first part of the year to kind of get your mind right around, now that we have tapped into a little bit of our why and started to look at really why do we do this? Because you need your why to get up some days, right? Or to do the hard thing or to go get that next deal. You need a
Right.
strong why. Otherwise, it's like, you kind of wishy-washy, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So kind of how do you get your mindset right?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. With the goal setting, I think it just comes down to you have to be very, very intentional and set down and treat it just like you would with any other business. Like if you're in that, corporate setting, right? Businesses set goals. So it's really easy to get caught up in, sitting down at your kitchen table, you're doing this at your reclining at your house, and it, kind of lackadaisical, and maybe we're not as intentional, for instance, to set those goals. Or if we do, really don't have action steps to take inside of them. So my wife and I, we sat down and we did this back before Thanksgiving. We sat down and we kind of examined, okay, this is the properties we have now. And this is like, we look at the cash flow, the net cash flow on each one of them. And we have a cash flow goal that we want to be at by the time that we're 60 years old. So we know that for instance, if we want to be at 30,000 in net cash flow every month, we know how many properties we have now and we know how many we have to add. So we get very intentional about looking at the ones, okay, we may have some that for whatever reason this last year, they just kind of turned into a dud, or we look at they're costing too much. So for instance, we know we've got to replace those with other assets and buy other real estate assets. We also want to have a goal around flipping income. So, before I was doing 5 to 7 flips a month. Now, this year and really last year too, we have scaled that really, really back as we went into other businesses. And so now, if we flip one a quarter, we're really satisfied with that. But I know on average, that's going to do about 20 grand per property on average. So, we'll make 80 grand from that. And that fits in our financial world. So we want to look at our goals. What else are we doing? Is this our only source of income? What other income is it? Do we need the money for right now? We get asked a lot, how do we decide whether or not we're going to flip a house, whether we're going to wholesale a house, or whether we're going to keep it as a rental? And I think that changes depending on where we're at in our life. Several years ago, I was all about flipping. I wanted that was kind of how I fed the family, right? Was we did it based on the amount of houses we flipped. Before that, it was wholesales. So you just kind of transition. Now, as we, are, I guess, a little bit as we age and we get a little bit more financially stable, now we were really focusing on long-term holds. So I think you've really just got to sit down and then figure those numbers out, and you got to go deep with it. You got to go super deep. Like if you're going to know, I want to buy 10 houses this year, okay? And I know that on average, I'm going to need to probably offer 20 like legitimate offers to buy one property. And I know for every offer that I'm going to do, I'm probably going to have to look at 10 to 20 houses. So you've kind of just got to back that in. So, I'm looking at probably, I don't know, you're what, 100 houses? Easy before we're we're buying those properties. I mean, 200, so you've just got to really get really good clarity around your numbers, and you need to track that. So you need to track, how many houses am I looking at? How many offers am I making in order to close one deal? And I think that is a very important thing to really dig deep, and then keep track of it as far as, okay, on a monthly basis, how many offers have I made? Really, on a weekly basis, how many offers have I made? Am I behind? Okay, well then I need to go find more properties. And so it just goes, where are you finding your property sources at? So you want to really get super detailed with this. And if you're using real estate agents, okay, how many agents are bringing how many deals on average to you? So it can become very, very systematic, to the point where you can almost estimate it on how many you're going to be able to do, based on those tiny, tiny, tiny little detailed steps that really you can empower yourself to do every day. Or better yet, you get other people to do them for you every day. If you want to buy one a month, and it's going to take you 10 houses to see that, and you have agents working for you, and each agent's only bringing, 2 deals a month on average to you to even look at, you got to have 5 agents in order to get the 10. So, it's really about finding the other people that can do this, and just tracking, and it's all in the details. But it's easy to do if you just sit down and take the time to figure it out.
Mhm. And if you don't set the goal, you typically don't hit the goal. I mean,
Right.
you might get lucky, but fail to plan, or plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail, basically. And so,
Exactly.
yeah, it, it, it's really as simple, but still sometimes challenging, just to sit down and say, okay, if I want to do 10 flips this year and I'm averaging 200,000 a flip, that's 200 grand. Well, what does that mean to me? Am I motivated for that 200 grand? Does that help me pay off debt? Does that help me, set up savings? Does that help me just build this business so I can own some rentals free and clear? But what is, Jerod, you and I have talked quite a bit about this. Money is a tool. They call it currency. It helps things flow from one point to another, but money in and of itself is an inert thing. Like if I had a stack of hundreds here, they're not doing anything for me, right? It's just paper. In the bank, it's just X's and O's, or ones and twos, right? It's just, so what does the actual, we're always usually chasing a feeling, or wanting
Right.
to get a feeling from what we believe money gets us. And that's, I mean, we're human beings. That's part of the game of being human. But ultimately, what does that $200,000 mean to my life, and what am I going to do with it? Because I've had those moments where I've got the big check, and done a deal, and significant money and a big check, and I get to the closing table and I get the check, and it's like anticlimactic, because I hadn't tied what that check could do to the life that I had. So it just became like this thing where it went in the file and it went in the bank, and it was like, okay, now what next, right? And I really wasn't able to celebrate it. I wasn't able to appreciate it. I wasn't able to integrate it in and go, oh, okay, this is building towards my goal of XYZ. It was just about making the money. And when it's just about making the money, I believe it's just a shallow goal. What's the money going to do for you, right? Like Jaime was talking earlier, is the money then helping me become more independent so that I can give my kids more, or buying my time back, time freedom? We look at that quite a bit too. Is like, if I have the freedom to buy my time back, then I can, one, be smarter about what I invest in, and two, invest in my children more, invest in my spouse more, invest in myself more, and make sure I get to the gym. It just gives you, for me, wealth gives you options, more options than than when you don't have wealth. When you don't have wealth, you're working to pay the bills. And when you have wealth, you can kind of say, okay, now what do I want to do with my life on a daily basis? So,
And I
um,
think that's a good point. I want to piggyback on that just a second.
sure.
When we talk about wealth, each person's idea of wealth is completely different. For me, wealth may mean, $5 million. For somebody else, wealth may mean $20 million. To some people, wealth might mean having another $50,000. So I think that everybody's idea, they have to really understand, what does wealth mean them, to them, and like, what does, even being rich mean to them? Being rich to me means that I have the time to be able to do what I want, when I want, with whom I want to do that stuff with. So I need to figure out how much money do I need to have coming into me, to make that happen? And sometimes people, like you said, you need to spend that money on paper. So you need to basically sit down and make a list. Okay, with my extra $80,000 in flip income that we want to have this year, this is exactly what I'm going to do with that money. Like you said, to tie that to an emotion, to tie that to a feeling. So, for us, one of the things we want to do is have a nice down payment on a Airbnb somewhere in Florida. So for me, I mean, that's kind of my goal this year is I want to be able to use that money to put down on that property, not to have another property. I mean, we can have properties anywhere, but for me, that gives me a place I can take my family that's going to pay for itself, that I can go there and spend as much time as I want to, and it's not really costing me a lot of money to do that. And also to give, just for the future, to give my kids places to go to be able to have a little vacation spot. So that's really the importance to me. So at the end of the year, it's like, oh, I didn't buy another house. No, I didn't make it a priority to give my kids a vacation spot. That's a lot more powerful of a feeling and a motivator than, oh, I just didn't buy another house. So
And I want to fully support you in that goal, Jerod. And I think everybody in this community wants to support you in your goal to get that Airbnb, and then you just let us know what we get as a discount.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The discount code will be sent to everybody.
Right. Exactly.
Message.
I support your 2025 goal.
Awesome. Do we have any questions about that before we move on about what Jerod mentioned?
Aaron, yeah, go ahead, Aaron. I can't see you. I can't see your face, but I see the background and I see the fingers up.
The lighting in my, can you turn that light on for me, Ron? Please and thank you. Is that a little better, huh? Can you see me now? I think it's just the lighting in my office.
I think you're a New York fan, but yeah, you I see the hat.
Yeah, okay. First and foremost, I just want to thank everybody for allowing. I got my whole team here with us, but I got the whole team here chiming in on the Zoom call. I appreciate everybody's insight. Leah, how you doing, love? I don't know if you remember me, but you spoke at one of my events.
Oh, awesome.
With
nice to have you.
Desmond Bryant.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys do really
yes.
things for the young community.
Yes, ma'am. That's me here. So I remembered your face when I seen you. But no, and I was actually in construction class with Jamie here, with Jaime. So nice to see you. Nice to see you, Jaime. But yeah, it's wonderful being here. I think I've seen Jerod. I think I've seen you around. I've been in the space for a little bit, so I think I've seen your name floating around. It's kind of like if I'm selling gas, I know all the other gas stations in town. You know what I mean? So I think I've seen your name floating around, Jerod. But it's nice to meet everybody. I appreciate everybody's insight. This is a wonderful experience for my team to get to hear. I've created an environment of wealth over here for my team. So everything you guys are speaking on is conducive to what I promote and teach over here at Atlas Property Group.
Awesome.
Great.
Perfect.
So thank you for having us.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Thank you for being on. Do you have a question or something you guys do to kind of set goals?
Yes, sir. So what we do here at Atlas Property Group is we pretty much handle the private sale of properties. I have a large pool of investors that are just waiting on property. I have an agent in Arizona. I have an agent in Dallas, and we're kind of wholesaling as our bread and butter.
Yep.
But we kind of do whatever makes the most sense. We have our goal is to be the biggest real estate company in Kansas. And with plans to extend in different and cross state lines, which we've already done by way of property agents in other states. I get a lot of questions about, because a lot of people they seem to complicate real estate when once you understand it, it's not complicated at all. Yeah. So we're really just glorified paper pushers over here. Glorified transaction coordinators over here. Like I have a commercial property for sale if anybody's interested. I also have a lot for sale a 20,000 square foot lot if anybody's interested. But we get approached by people that don't necessarily want to deal with a realtor. They don't necessarily want to. This guy with the commercial building. He's looking for a private sale. So and that's what we handle. One of my mentors. Some of you guys might be familiar with John Todd. He is actually my mentor. And he told me that we're going to make a lot of money here because real estate agents are actually adversarial, and what we're doing is counsel here. So we educate anybody that we do a transaction with, we educate them on the whole process and blase. So we're solution based, you know what I mean? Not just transaction based.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome. Aaron, can I ask you a question? I'll put you on the spot a little bit.
Yes, sir.
So you said you want to be the biggest real estate company in Kansas?
Yes, sir.
Love that. Love that. So there's a lot of ways, right? Real estate is really a huge inclusive word. So have you defined what that means for you? Does that mean transactions, dollar volume, net sales?
Yes, sir. I actually have a very extensive business plan that I put together. And it encompasses everything that we plan to do, but wholesaling is just one small aspect of what we do. That's why in the chat here I said the private sale of property among other services. So, you know, we fix and flip, buy and hold, the whole nine. I've been in the real estate market. I actually helped Alex Ferranzi build Real Estate Rescue. And I'm 37 now, and I bought my first house when I was 19 under a creative finance deal. Nice. Yeah, so that is where when you talk about history, I've been doing this since I was 19. I didn't realize that it was real estate for me. So, you know, I tell my team likens me to Jesus, and Atlas Property Group is my fish.
Love that. Love that.
Yes, sir.
Good. Good.
And nice to have you. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate it. Keep asking questions if you have any, 100%.
Yes, ma'am.
Jerod, one thing that you hit on that I want to make sure everyone heard, maybe you can dig in a little deeper, but you said maybe income is a goal, maybe ownership assets are a goal, maybe transactions. Kind of the numeric number that you set as your goal in real estate, that could mean maybe number of properties. I know you kind of mentioned that. Can you speak a little bit more on that?
Yeah, you know, the reason I asked that is it sounds like Aaron's got it figured out and a well laid out plan. But a lot of times people have a big goal. You know, maybe they want to have 100 rental doors. Well, why 100? What's important about 100? Just to say I have 100? Well, and I mean, if that's the goal, hey, that's fine. But what does the 100 do for you? Is it because you want to, you know, each door nets you $200 a month, and so you know you want to have 20 grand a month or 200 grand a month? Or is it because you want to have a certain amount of appreciation every year? Is it because you know of a net just total net income or net appreciation on your total assets? So I think you have to get really, really clear in that scenario of what does those 100 doors do for you? Because maybe it's you want to hit a certain net income goal. Well, maybe you could do that with 80 and you don't need 100. Maybe it's, okay, how do I get really, really lean and increase it from 200 a door to 250 a door? So now you really only need to have 75, right? So I think a lot of people have big arbitrary goals, but they don't really know what the goal does for them. So really getting down deep and finding somebody, if you know, sometimes it can be a struggle, and sometimes you just need somebody to bounce that idea and just ask you really deep questions so you can figure that out. And anybody on here, you know, I'm happy if you want to schedule a call later and just dive into that. I'm happy to, you know, we can jump on and really, you know, in 30 to 45 minutes could probably walk you through the steps to help you figure out what is maybe not your why, but the numbers aspect of it and help you figure that out. You know, I think people just have to break those. Once you can break the arbitrary goal down to a very specific number, and then it's just a big math equation.
And you know, Jerod, as you're talking there, also, you know, as you get your goal, but then defining how you're going to hit your goal. So, you know, I think a lot of real estate entrepreneurs, and I know I do, suffer from the shiny object syndrome, right? So it's like I'm doing, you know, I've got this plan, or if I don't have a well-defined plan, then anything that comes along I'd be like, well, then maybe that fits, or maybe this fits, or maybe that fits. And ultimately, all those things are going to be distractions from actually hitting the goal. You know, I think it was Warren Buffett who said, you know, the wealthier I get, the more I have to say no. And, you know, ultimately, because in the beginning, you want to say yes to everything because you're new or you're newer or it looks like an opportunity. But at some point, if you really want to scale, like I know, you know, there's a builder friend of mine I know that built 130 houses last year. He only builds 6 models. He doesn't build any custom, and he doesn't do any remodel. He builds 6 models. He buys a lot, he puts up the house, and he sells it. And so that's how he was able to do 100. He would never be able to scale if he was trying to do, you know, be, you know, a top end builder and a bottom end builder and build some duplexes and maybe go build some commercial. It would just be, he wouldn't be able to build the team infrastructure around it. And so I think that's the other thing is, like, for me, I have started to shut off things that are opportunities because I'm focused on kind of, it's like I want to funnel my energy into fewer things and then do those really well versus being, I've got, you know, I was going to do some commercial development about a year ago and build some storage units. And I was looking at it and I had talked to the seller and kind of had the whole thing ready to queue up. It was pretty much a slam dunk. And then we had some, you know, stuff in our life that kind of shook us up a little bit. And I looked at it and I said, at the end of the day, what is this going to do for me? Owning these storage units, is it going to make me feel better? Is it going to, you know, what's the actual income off of it? And when I really looked at it, I was like, I don't really want to spend a year and a half of my life getting this storage unit thing up so that on my deathbed, I can be like, I owned 100 storage units. It just didn't make sense anymore because it wasn't inside, it didn't fit inside of my goals for my life and my family. Where somebody else might be like, oh, I only want to do storage units because that is building, right? So again, it's very personalized to what are you trying to accomplish and finding the vehicle that will take you there. And I think part of that, you know, when you're a newer real estate entrepreneur is also figuring out what the vehicle is, right? You might have to try some rentals and some flips and maybe some short just to see what your personality and your skill sets fit to. I guess Jerod, what's been some of your experience around that?
You know, I 100% agree. I think no is one of the most powerful words that you can say now, but I learn that lesson every day still. And you know, man, it's funny reflecting back on it now as you talk about that, because I mean, I'm a prime example. Like I would have 2 or 3 different businesses, not even related to each other, 2 or 3 different businesses going at the same time and looking for the next one in the middle of it. And ultimately, looking back at that, some of them did really, really well, and some of them flopped. Where I probably would have been able to go a lot further and a lot deeper and make a lot more money if I would have like strictly done one, you know. And I'm the type of like personality where like I need information, I need it yesterday, I need it to be exact, but I'm ready to go do this right now. You know, and I don't want to wait. I don't want to process. Like, let's do it. Here's the plan. No, we don't even need a plan. We'll figure out the details later, right? I just want to go do my thing. And so for a lot of us, you know, on the call, and I'm guilty of this too, that, you know, this goal setting piece isn't really that sexy. And it's pretty boring. And it, you know, is a very skippable step. It really, really is. Just it's like, and it's very easy to procrastinate it. But I can tell you, like, honestly, this has been a huge changing factor where if you just take the time to do this, because then it allows me, if I focus and I spend even half a day to go do this, it will allow me to go and like do those steps where I don't have to think about it, where I can just go, 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 go. But it's on daily steps. And then I don't have to worry about the big picture, because I know that if I just pound out my daily steps, those little action pieces that move the dial like 1% every day, I know that at the end of the month, I'm going to hit those goals. Like I don't have to worry about it because I know that just that one tick of the dial every day moves it so much closer, you know. And somebody told me, you know, if you can just improve your business 1% every day, you know, in 100 days, not even a year, you've 100% increased your business, right? And like if you think about that, like 1% is almost so small, it's very hard to measure that really. But it's like, okay, you do that 10 days, well, we've moved our business 10%. That's massive. I mean, if you think about like big corporations, if they would increase their bottom line 10%, I mean, that's unheard of most of the time. So it really does make a big, big difference. And it's just something, if you're somebody like me that is just go, 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 you just got to force yourself and trust the process.
Totally. So, and again, we've spent a lot of time with mindset today as the first session of this on purpose. As we go through for the next 5 weeks, we're going to be a lot more tactical and we're going to be a lot more granular. So we're going to get into like deal structure, how to structure deals. And we could have just jumped into that today. And to Jerod's point, it's a lot more fun even for us to just jump in. Let's go,
Right.
throw some deals at us. Let's process them. Let's think about the
Yes.
creative financing.
Yes.
Let's think about this. And so we're going to spend a lot of time doing that over the next 5 weeks. But we're really being intentional about, if we don't know what we want ultimately, then how are we going to get there unless we back up and line out the steps, knowing that also it's not going to look exactly like our plan, right? It's kind of like man plans and God laughs, right? So there's going to be detours, there's going to be bumps, but as long as we have a kind of a general direction, or a true north that we can look towards, then we're always going to be able to get back on track. It's like, if I know that I've got to increase, my monthly net cash flow from rentals $1,000 a month by the end of the year, then I always know, okay, I got to come back to that. I got to come back to that. So we at least have a touchstone or a true north. But I would like to open it up to some questions, either about kind of like, if you have a number and of like, here's what I want to make, or how do I think about some of these goals, or just if you do have a deal and you throw it in here, we'll all be like addicts and we'll all just jump on that deal and process it and crunch it for you. Right. So if you got a deal, certainly feel, and that's what you need. You need to process that deal to get to the next step. But in fact, I'm going to use that as our kind of our guidepost for the next 20 minutes here, is what's the next step? So either who's the next person you need to reach out to, or what is the next step you need to do to move your real estate investing career forward, right? And so let's make sure that, from now until the end of this call in about 20 minutes, let's make sure we're clear. Each of us individually are clear. What do I need to do next? Because again, it's what Jerod said. It's just one step at a time. It's not that you're going to achieve everything in a day. It's not that any of us are going to achieve everything every single day. It's like, but what's the very next step? Is that calling a lender? Is it calling a title company? Is it calling a realtor? I mean, what's the thing that right after this call, right after this thing that you know that you need to do to just get that? It may be setting a meeting, it may be sitting down and just doing your goals, but let's not leave this without having an action step, because then it's just, it's nice, and I hope we're entertaining, and I hope, we're funny or whatever, but ultimately I want you to get value. And so I see some nodding heads on here. Is there anybody who would like to share either where they're at, or would like some feedback on kind of what their next step could be, or even if you need a resource of who you need to turn to, because that's the other part of this community, is being resources for each other. So Aaron just talked a little bit about ago that he's a wholesaler. Well, if you need to pick up some properties and you're flipping or doing rentals, maybe you need to reach out to Aaron and contact him and say, okay, here's where I'm at. What do you have that fits this box? Here's my box. And Aaron would probably use that terminology. What's your buy box? What's your buy box? And then he would know, okay, this property fits your buy box. I'm only going to call Jaime, or I'm only going to call Nicole, or I'm only going to call Charlie when I have a property that fits their buy box or is close, right? Because you want as many people bringing you deals. If you need to do 10 or 20 a year, you got to have people bringing you deals. So who would like to kind of volunteer to talk about what they? Okay, Aaron, go ahead. Where are you at with your next step?
I don't want to say I hate to talk so much, but I don't really mean to take the room. But I actually have a client of mine that has 70 properties, and he's aggressively trying to sell 40 to me. And I'm trying to figure out the best way to structure this deal for not just myself. I'm not in this for myself. Again, this is Atlas Property Group is my fish that I'm feeding the village with. So I'm trying to structure the deal to where it's best for Atlas Property Group, not just me. So I have a team of 12 people here, and I want to make this work for the team, not just myself. And I'm looking at long-term options. So maybe acquiring the portfolio under Atlas Property Group, which is a hell of a start. And looking at long-term income, or residual income on that portfolio. I don't know if I want to offload some of it and wholesale some of it. I'm really trying to, I really stump people and blow people's mind when the people that I do choose to bring this up to, and because they've never seen anything like this. So I've looked into DSCR loans, and I think that may be one way to facilitate this whole. It's a big deal, I get it, but big things don't scare me. They seem to scare everybody else.
So I'll let Jerod. Yeah, go for it.
And I think, man, I think that's it's just, man, it's really inspiring. It kind of makes me a little bit speechless, man, that you're thinking about this not to buy for yourself, but how you can help everybody else on your team through that. So, I mean, I just commend you for that. That's really powerful. Don't see that very much nowadays. You know, I would challenge you. I kind of put it back in your lap, based on what we've been talking about today and the filter through what your goals are and your goal setting. And I think goal setting for your team and what you're trying to accomplish with them. I think if you apply that to the filter of what you're going to do on your dispo side of these properties, we can help you structure the deal. I mean, logistically, but I think before we do that, we need to know which direction do you want to go. Could you acquire them and wholesale them all out and do a profit split with all your team? Maybe an option. You could acquire them and in your company name and do profit sharing through that, or maybe you set up a separate LLC and everybody that's on your team is a member of that LLC, and now everybody gets a piece of the pie for long term, and set them up as a long-term hold for everybody. So I think you have to really look at what your goal is, and that will probably drive the direction you want to go with them. Does that help you?
Yeah, a little bit, but to be honest with you, my goal is whatever makes the most sense. I'm not looking to be right or wrong, weak or strong. I'm looking to be effective in yeah, whatever makes the absolute most sense. So I play with AI an awful lot. And AI doesn't have a problem. AI thinks I'm a freaking genius. Yeah, so when I bring these deals to AI is like, holy smokes, man. Who are you type, that's the reaction I'm getting from AI. So I don't struggle with necessarily structuring deals and all of that good stuff. I have a pretty good understanding of what's going on. And what helps me is that I understand that I am very much adversarial in a real estate agent. A real estate agent is adversarial and I'm counsel. So I use that to my advantage whenever I'm dealing with a client. I like to educate them. So again, my goal is to I'm doing this for Atlas Property Group. There's a lot riding on this, man. So
so let me ask you this. If you did this and you got the 40 properties and you split it up, maybe you could go back to everybody on your team and ask them, would you rather have a big check right now, or would you rather have long-term income and asset appreciation? And maybe work through that scenario with everybody, because it sounds to me like you're doing it for your team. So what if you went to them and said, which would they rather have?
Yep, 100%.
That sounds amazing. That's amazing right there. And they're all high-fiving in here now.
And then from there, you just, what are they going to do with the money? If they choose a big lump sum of cash, right? Okay, what are they going to do with the money? And really find that out, versus if they don't have a big lump sum of cash, but they have a share in an asset and some cash flow every month and appreciation, what's the exit strategy on that LLC? Because you got to have an exit strategy when you go into a big group like that. So I think, let the team make that. That's just such a powerful gift that you're going to give to them through that. And maybe it's a combination. Maybe you do, maybe it's a mixed bag on the vote, right? So you hold 30 and wholesale 10 of them, give everybody a little bit of cash now and a little bit of cash flow along the way. So yeah, I would ask that.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron, for that.
Thank you, Jerod.
Yeah.
Who else is at a crossroads and would like some input? Nicole, I see you shifting a lot. Are you ready to rock and roll? You ready to come on and tell us where you're at? Hit the unmute. There you go. Welcome in. Oh, I can't hear you. Anybody here?
Oh,
No, we can't hear you. Unmuted, but then I couldn't hear you. Try one more time. And if not, then yeah, I still can't hear you. So you may have to type it. Just
Chat.
type,
Cool.
yeah, type it in the chat and we'll address it through the chat. So yeah, we'll catch you. Yep. Thank you. Thank you for being willing to participate. You know, it's you. The power of a group like this is that when we share, we learn, right? And so as each individual shares, we're collectively, like I'm learning right now, listening and integrating things in. And so, yeah, the more we, like my 5-year-old boss says, she says, you know, sharing is caring. And it is true. If we're sharing, we're also caring for one another and helping each other along the path. So
I guarantee everybody else probably has very similar questions.
Mhm.
And so it really is a big help to everybody to ask the questions. And there's no
100%.
dumb question. I mean, there really isn't. I mean, you don't know what you don't know.
I can
So,
ask some dumb ones, Jared, but I think everybody else has a dumb question.
yeah, except you.
Leah, Leah, do we have Nicole's question there? Could you read that?
I think she's still typing it away.
Oh, okay.
We'll
You're
just
still
make sure when you reply it in the chat, it's to everyone. So we all see it in that chat. I think for me, Jared, obviously I've always been saying 10 doors. I want to get to 10 doors. No idea why, it just sounded good in my head. So I really like that portion that you talked about. And then as far as awesome, Nicole, I do see her chatting there if you want to chat in your goal. And then as far as the person that I want to get in contact with, obviously, I'm kind of eating my own cereal over here, working with the flip with Jerod, and then also a DSCR loan with us as well, kind of rolling that through on my refinancing. And I know Aaron mentioned maybe doing multiple deals. I thought it was really cool when, you know, I first joined your guys' team, jumping on and learning that you can package multiple deals with the DSCR, and you know it's not based on your personal income. So being kind of a greener investor, those things are really, really cool to me.
Mm-hmm. You know, and Leah, as I hear you talk, one of the things that, you know, we're doing a book study right now on our team called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. And I'd highly recommend it. It's a simple read. You can read it fairly quickly, but just Who Not How, if you want to put that in the chat, Leah, I'd appreciate it. But
Yeah.
it talks and it just drives this point home. You know, we're only in like chapter 1 going on chapter 2, but it really drives the point home that we all need who's. We need people in our lives that are resources so if we want to fast track our anything really, but especially our real estate investing career, you got to have who's, you know. And Jaime and I have talked about this. Jaime's intentional about building out his network. Okay, here are my lenders, here's some, you know, subcontractors, right? Jaime, you think strategically about who are my who's, and certainly, you know, as even you mature in investing, and that becomes even more important, is surrounding yourself with. And when I say a team, they could be vendors, they could be subs, they could be mentors, but having a team of people that you can go to when you do have deals, just like Aaron talked about here, I've got this deal, having a place to go talk about deals, to break down deals, but then you always have kind of this resource list of, hey, if I have this come up, I can call this person. Because life ultimately is about the relationships we have. And if you want a higher quality life, you have to have higher quality relationships. And then so who are you surrounding yourself, and who are you reaching? Because I have very rarely in my life, if I really wanted to talk to somebody, did they say no? Very, very rarely. If I really was looking for their solid advice and not just, that's for sure. So yeah, not just to, if you're truly going for advice and that's really what you want is their knowledge. Yeah, I've talked to some really, you know, Charles Koch, right? One of the richest, well, the richest person in Wichita, and one of the richest people in the world. And I just put it as a goal. I had a list of people that I wanted to talk to that were high net worth individuals, so I could start to understand wealth, because I came from very lower middle class. And so, and sure enough, I've spent a lot of time with Charles Koch and got to talk to him and understand a little bit of how he thinks about the world and how he processes business and business deals. But it was on a sheet of paper. It was like Jerod was talking about. It was a goal, and I set a year in which I wanted to talk to all these people. And I think I got 80 or 90% of the 10 people I had on my list I talked to that year. They were all local to Wichita, which obviously helped. But that they became my who's. I wanted to learn, so it was like, who do I want to learn from? And I go out and I find these who's. So
Yeah, I think that's great, Matt. And to add on to that, if we can be connectors for anybody in here, you know, we'll definitely do our best to make those connections and set you up with a warm introduction. So
100%, 100%. We want to be research. Okay, you want to read that
Awesome.
now?
And
Yeah.
so Nicole did kind of message back her goals. She says she has a group that does the buy and hold strategy. She recently left her W-2 job. Congratulations, Nicole.
Yay.
And has now shifted her strategy to fix and flips. She's looking for, to build a stronger team of contractors to go through. She's met Jamie. He's amazing, obviously. And then she recently got boots on the ground in North Dallas area and will start looking for deals there as well. So Aaron, one to look out for there. So that's awesome. Nicole, really, really cool. So when she left her W-2, she switched to the fix and flip, obviously for cash flow there. And you're welcome, Nicole.
Yeah. So I don't know if I got a question there. Is there a question, or is it more of just like, I guess, what's your next? Do you need contacts in Dallas? I guess, what's your next step? And then if anybody else has questions, we've got a few minutes left, and then we'll wrap up for today. We'll start again next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, again, we're going to be getting more tactical. So we're going to start going over on next Tuesday's meeting, finance strategies, time management, tracking processes, education and networking. So some of the things we do personally, some of the things that we support as a company. We'll get into on the finance strategies pretty in depth on, okay, how do we, once I find a deal, how do I fund a deal? And there's always many ways to fund a deal. There's not a way, there's many ways. So we'll talk about some of the things that we've seen in the market, some of the things that we've done to fund deals. So it will get more, granular as we get into next week. Yes, Leah.
Awesome. Yeah, so I would just say everyone go like our Facebook page. The event will be there. I'll make a repeating Zoom link as well. So if you're already in the Zoom meeting, or if you want to share a friend, you can just email their email to that. So it'd be on your Google Calendar with the same Zoom link. And then if you have any questions or want to book that meeting with Jerod, just DM goals on our Facebook page, and I'll send you his Calendly link so you can DM that meeting with Jerod to go through your goals. And obviously, Nicole, I know you didn't message anything back, but of course you're probably on the lookout for more deals and people to fund the deals. So we are here for that. Just DM us. And then I know you mentioned kind of structuring a team. We are going to talk about how to actually scale this like a business in later sessions as well. But does anyone have any more questions or any last questions?
Okay, so next week as we come together, hopefully you've had time to think about your goals, have more of a clear roadmap for where you want to go in 2025, and then start to think, okay, who and what do I need to do to hit those goals in 2025? And then when you come back on, we're going to do Q&A every time. So we'll go over some of these financing, time management, tracking progress, education networks, things like this in the first part. And then again, we'll always open it up. So if you do have a lifetime deal that you want to analyze, we'll be able to analyze deals. Hey, I'm thinking about buying this. Does it fit the DSCR model? Hey, should I put a garage on this deal? And, or should I add a bedroom? Any stuff that you're doing on a current flip or wholesale or any of it, we'd be happy to address. Jerod, closing thoughts? He's very stoic. Look at Jerod. He's just very stoic. I think he's frozen. So we appreciate Jerod's just being present with us right now. So
nice to have you, Stefan.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Be sure to reach out to us with any questions. We'd love to be a resource for you. And have a good rest of your week. God bless, and have a good rest of your week.
God bless. Bye, guys.
Bye.